Hi, everyone. Any website that you go to for learning DAX, in the top 10 list of functions that you have to study, calculate, filter, and all will appear almost everywhere. For example, if I just say top DAX functions, you will typically see calculate, filter, and all coming in every single article that you go through. And that clearly tells you that as a beginner, these three are very, very important for you. So I want to take a very different approach in this video. I want to show you how to do the same thing on Microsoft Excel. Even though the functions and the process would be a little different, I hope this will help you understand what in your mind the process should be. The objective that we are aiming to achieve remains the same, but the way we go about it will be very different. So we have a data set here, which only has two columns in it. I have the market and we have the sales value. We have the same data here in Excel as well. We have the market and the sales value, 51,290 records. Now imagine that you wanted to find the sum of sales. We would have written equal to the sum of column B, and this gives me 12642501. If I can show you the formula, it looks like this. We could have also given a name to the column. So if I select the entire column and I give it a name in the name box, if I call it sales, now if I say equal to the sum of sales, it tells me the same result. And if I make a copy and I convert this into a table, on insert, if you convert this into a table, and we also call the table fact underscore sales, now we can get the result as the sum of fact underscore sales, open bracket, and then the sales column like this. So if I can show you the formula, this is what we have. The sum of fact, sales, sales. How do we do the same thing in Power BI? We will create a measure, so new measure. And I will say that my total sales is equal to the sum of sales like this. So very similar to how we have done it on Excel using a table, sum of fact underscore sales, sales. We make a card, put the measure in it, and you get the same result. Let me also make it display unit none with 0 decimal so that we have 126.42502 like this. All right, now the question is, what if we want to see only one of the markets? Let us say we only want to see the sales for United States. To do that, in Excel, we would have said equal to filter, and we're applying a filter on column B, which is sales. And then what is the condition? The condition is that in the column A, the value should be equal to USA like this. And now you notice that from 51,290 records, I only have 10,378. Now to find the sum, we can simply say the sum like this, right? So this is the formula that we have written. Now, if you wanted to have a drop down, we could have done that as well. So I'll make a drop down validation here. So first, let me get a list of unique markets. So that would be unique. And then we go to data, data validation, and in the list, we will just enter this source, J6 to J10, and we have a drop down here. Now, in the formula, I don't want to write USCA because then it becomes a fixed value. We want to select the cell D6. And you notice that as I change the market, the result changes as well, like this. So we want to recreate the same thing in Power BI as well. So what we will do here is to first create the calculate with the filter. So new measure, and we will say sales for only the selected region. So we want to calculate the sum of my sales. Now, if you stop at this point, it is just the sum of sales. If I can make a card and show it to you. You will notice that it gives us exactly the same number. Let me also make it no decimal places like this. And there you go. But the advantage of using calculate is that first, you don't have to write sum of sales again because we've already created a measure. So I can just write total sales like this. But the best part is that I have the option for a filter or multiple filters. So we want to modify the expression modified by filter. So we want to say that there is a filter applied, which is that in the table fact sales, the filter expression being that my market should be equal to USCA like this. And now you notice we get 2364129, the same thing we were getting here as well. But then what about the drop down? In Excel, it's very easy to create one. Here as well, we want to do that. So I will first create a slicer. And in the slicer, I will keep my market. And then somehow the value that we are getting from the slicer should come into this DAX formula. And that's very simple. All we have to do is we have to say the selected value. That means that the selected market that is coming from the slicer will be the one that will come inside the formula. So now you notice that if I select Africa, it shows me Africa, Asia Pacific, Europe, LATAM, and USA, like this. So this is sort of us recreating what we have done on Excel on DAX as well. And now we're using calculate as well as filter. But here's the thing. What if I want to see Europe as a percentage of the total sales? That means if I write the same formula one more time and I divide it by the sum of the entire column, that will give us 18.7%. So that this is my formula. So we are finding the sales only for USA divided by the total sales. And this is what we want to do. I want to come back and we'll copy this measure. In fact, I'll duplicate the sheet itself. So I'll go to new measure and we will say sales for only selected region as a percentage of total. Now you must be thinking, but that's very easy, right? All I do is divide by the total sales value, correct? Let's put this measure inside our card and let me convert this into a percentage as well. Now, here's the thing. This is not working. Why? The reason is that when you say the fact sales, total sales, there is already a slicer applied, which is on euro. Now, what that means is that while we are trying to divide it by the grand total of sales, that is not what is happening. Since we have selected a item in the slicer, by selecting that item in the slicer, it is also getting applied to the fact sales, total sales. So this is not the total sales for all the 5 markets. It is only the total sales for Europe. So obviously, if I divide the same value by itself, we are going to get 1 or 100%. And this is where we use all. So we will say all, and as you can see, all says that it will return all the rows in a table, ignoring any filters that might have been applied. So there is a filter applied in market, but we don't want to accept it. We want to ignore it. So that's what we are trying to do. We are trying to say here that in the table, which is in the table name or the column name, the fact underscore sales, we would like to ignore the column market. That means that even though market is a slicer and the user is selecting only one value, in this case, Europe, we don't want to take that, right? So we will just say calculate the total sales, but with a filter applied, and the filter being all markets. Let us see the result now. So now you notice it gives me an error. Let me check that quickly. All, we don't need to write the table name since we're already selecting a column name. I think this should be okay. And let's convert this into a percentage. And let me make it 2 decimals as well. Okay, I'm not able to do that, but it doesn't matter. If I select USCA, you notice it gives me 19%. Right, like this. And if I go back and check, the US is 19% and Europe is 26%. So if I select Europe here, it gives me 26%. So there you go. It was a very short video explaining how calculate, filter, and all work. Of course, DAX is a very complex language. So while the foundation is great, you have to build on it. And there's a lot that you have to study. And I always tell that DAX is not something that you can learn by hit and try or by copying stuff from the internet. Because while people would have given you sample codes and sample formulas, you still have to understand how it works to be able to use it effectively. So quick recap, we saw the measure, which is sum of sales. Then we did only for the selected region, which was calculate with a filter and selected value. And then finally, we also did the sales for only the selected region as a percentage total. So we use the all here like this.